Hi, Peter Allen's Vigor Transformations. What I want to talk about is sitting posture. What's happening, what we can start to do to change it, and honestly, why we need to use the percussion gun as much as we can, because every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So regardless if I'm sitting up straight and pulling in, my adductors and everything are going to eventually become tight. It's very hard to keep everything equal and even unless you're spending a decent amount of time in the gym or have been able to stay flexible your entire life. But most people don't get into this kind of until later on in life. The big thing I want to explain though is a lot of people I'm seeing when they're sitting, they're like this, and they're getting stuck like this. So it's very hard to kind of fix your core and your hips as we get older. I'm talking like kind of really older, but either way, we can still always fix it. But we want to get out of kind of sitting like this. It's kind of really horrible. We want to make sure that we're kind of sitting straight up and down. The core is pulled in. Knees should be kind of straight, if not maybe internally rotated a little bit. All too often, a lot of men are sitting with their legs like this. I did it for years, and then I started trying to rotate in, and it was extremely hard in the beginning. And I realized I overactivated my adductors by doing it, going from one extreme to the other without stretching. Now, if I had probably started using the percussion gun maybe 10 years ago more often and kind of work my flexibility when I'm trying to do this. So if we're trying to change our posture, we can't just force it. Okay, we also have to elicit, whether it's through a combination of exercise and percussion gun and stretching, to get our bodies into a better position. All too often, I realized for years I was kind of forcing my body into these positions. I was going from one extreme to the next. And I realize the folly in this now. I was always just thinking our bodies are anatomically correct and we can just kind of force ourselves into and out of a lot of positions. And I think a lot of people think that way too. We don't realize that if one muscle's tight, that means shortening the opposite is not going to have an adverse reaction. And that's what happened to me. I used to kind of sit a lot of cross-legged, so what am I doing? I'm shortening my glute muscle, especially those deep ones I realized, and over time it, again, had an adverse reaction. My right hip really tight. I very rarely sit with my left. It's tighter, and again, I can see the adverse reaction that it would have here too. Now we tend to think of this as, oh, it's flexible, and I did too for years, but now I realize, yeah, it's flexible in one way, but again, tightens in another way. So once we start to understand kind of how we should be sitting, then we can start to discuss, what we should be doing to kind of stretch and fix a lot of these things. So maybe I'm sitting on the floor and doing a kind of a glute stretch, and then same thing, kind of working that percussion gun through here. Having a leg flop over the table. I'm not going to go into it actually. If you just kind of watch some of the other videos in terms of your hips, because your hips are the most important part when you sit, and where they are dictate how your upper body is going to perform and be used, and how well we can activate our core and our upper body. Thank you.